Come closer, come closer. Can I offer you an alternative to an expensive fragrance? Hey friends, Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. I thought you were somebody else. Today we're gonna be talking about must-know niche fragrances. Fragrances that everyone should know about if they're interested in fragrances at all. And also some cheaper alternatives to those niche fragrances. In case you didn't want to pony up the big bucks and get the real deal, you can spend way less, sometimes like 10% the cost of the actual release, and get something that smells extremely similar. So 2-in-1, niche fragrances you need to know, and also cheaper alternatives to those niche fragrances that you need to know. This one is just an alternative to Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo, which I'm not officially talking about today, but I made a good prop. Let's jump into it. I'm gonna have these linked in the description down below, like usual. Feel free to check them out down there. And because there will be so many different fragrances mentioned, I'm not gonna hold up each and every alternative. I'll just hold up the niche one and then have photos of the alternatives as I talk about. Let's jump right into it. The first fragrance that you need to know about is from By Kilian, and it is Angel's Share. Now, By Kilian, a very popular niche house, and there were a lot of fragrances released from By Kilian before this one that were extremely popular, but Angel's Share just kind of took it to the next level. And as of right now, I would say comfortably that this is the most popular fragrance from the house. It has cognac, praline, cinnamon, tonka, vanilla, and oak as some of the notes in the fragrance. It's very spicy, boozy, sweet, warm, and sexy, a huge compliment puller. There's a reason that this is so popular after all. And honestly, for niche fragrances, it's not priced all that bad. It's not crazy expensive, at least when compared to some of the other fragrances out there in the niche world. So this stuff, you gotta know about it. Smells absolutely fantastic. This is one I love to wear during fall and winter. Now let's say you don't have the money for Angel's Share. What can you get that's gonna smell similar to it? Well, I would point you first off to Lattafa's Camera. That's gonna be your best bet if you want the absolute best alternative to Angel's Share. Get that one. But then there is also a fragrance called KISMET Angel, and that one's pretty good too. So that could be your other alternative if you didn't want to go for Camera, or for whatever reason you're not interested in Camera, you could check that one out too. But as I said, if I could have just one, it'd be Camera. That's your best bet. After that, we got to talk about this one. Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer choice, but it is what it is. Baccarat Rouge 540 from Maison Francis Kurkdjian. This is the Eau de Parfum version of Baccarat Rouge 540, and it is expensive. This is much more pricey than Angel's Share at full retail, and if you want to go even higher, you can get the Extrait, and then it's going to cost you even more. How much more? Well, if you get a 200 ml size bottle of the Extrait, just $845. But most people won't get that. They'll get the 2.4 ounce, and that's got, you know, the low price of $435. Super affordable. Yeah, that's not too expensive, is it? So yeah, Baccarat Rouge 540, it's costly. Now those were the Extrait de Parfum prices, so the Eau de Parfum is a little bit less than that, but it still is a pricey scent. It's got saffron, I'm really glad I caught that, amberwood, ambergris, jasmine, and fir resin as some of the notes in the fragrance. Oftentimes you'll see it described as having precious woods. How do precious woods smell? Kind of like cotton candy. It is a great fragrance though. People love this stuff, both men and women, and the performance for me is actually very good, though a lot of people do go anosmic to this when they're wearing it, which means that they can't really smell it after a while. So if you want something that smells like BR 540, you are in luck, friend, because there are a boatload of fragrances out there that smell similar to that one. Stuff like Ariana Grande Cloud, Burberry Her. But the ones that I would point you to are neither of those, actually. It would be Lattafa's Anna Abayed Rouge. That one is extremely affordable, very inexpensive from discounters. I picked mine up for about $15. So that one, if you're balling on a budget, that's gonna be the best way to go. And then the new ARMAF Club de Nuit Untold is a very good alternative to Baccarat Rouge 540 also. Now do keep in mind, those are not all of the clones or the alternatives to BR540. That's the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more out there, but I can't go through like 25 fragrances right here, so we're gonna keep it moving. The next scent is from Tom Ford. It's Tobacco Vanille. Now settle down, nerds. I see you out there. Oh, Tom Ford is not a niche brand. Tom Ford is actually a designer because he makes clothes. Therefore, all his fragrances are designers. For the purposes of this video, the private blend line fits in better with niche fragrances. That's why I'm including it here in all seriousness, because those fragrances, they're more niche style. So while Tom Ford is a designer house overall, this is more of a niche scent. Just like Guerlain is a niche house, but if you take like L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette, for example, that's gonna fit in better with designer fragrances. Now that we got that out of the way, let's continue. Tobacco Vanille. This has notes of tobacco and vanilla. I mean, they were very original with the name, I will give them that. There's also spices, dried fruits, and woods. This one is magical. I fell in love with this the first time I smelled it. Yes, it's expensive, but you do get what you pay for. If you like tobacco scents, especially ones that are quite sweet, you gotta check this out. But as I said, very expensive, so if you want a cheaper alternative, ALHAMBRA's Amber Oud Tobacco, a great place to start. And if you want to spend a little bit less, you could get Alhambra's Tobacco Touch. And the Alhambras really just completely ape the look of the Tom Ford. And Alhambra is kind of an offshoot of Lattafa, like they're underneath Lattafa. So if you know about Lattafa, Alhambra, pretty much the same thing. Next up, a big hitter from Xerjoff, NAXOS, another tobacco fragrance. Honey, cinnamon, tobacco, tonka, and lavender, some of the notes in the fragrance. This one is not quite as sweet as Tobacco Vanille is, has a little bit of an aromatic touch to it, and it's another one of the best tobacco fragrances out there that's ever been made as far as niche scents go. And that is why it's one of Xerjoff's most popular fragrances that they've ever released. Now that one just had a new clone come out for it called Veau Elegante. And I got that one in, I've worn it and compared it side by side with NAXOS. And with Veau Elegante, there's a little bit of a difference in how the aromatics come across, but it is a good alternative to NAXOS, and especially as it dries down, it gets quite close. That one's gonna be your best bet as far as just getting a one-to-one with NAXOS. You could also go with Insurrection 2 Wild from Rayanne Tradition, and that's gonna get you decently close to NAXOS, but that one is truly more of a clone of Pure Havane from Mugler. So it'll get you close, but the other will get you a bit closer. Let's follow that up with Oud for Greatness from Initio, another really popular one, and one of the most popular, if not the most popular, from the house. Kind of what I'm going for here is taking the most popular or one of the most popular fragrances from a niche house and then kind of working through it that way. So you have oud, saffron, nutmeg, and lavender as some of the notes in the fragrance here. Some people have compared this to Baccarat Rouge 540, but I do find them to be quite different. They have a similar smelling saffron note, you could say, but outside of that, they've got a very different backbone to them. Very powerful, fantastic for fall and wintertime, and extremely popular as well. So for that one, the most obvious alternative is gonna be from Lattafa, and it's called Oud for Glory, and they pretty much copy the look of the bottle. So it's another one of those deals where they're not trying to hide it at all. They're letting you know straight from the get-go, yeah, we're ripping that off. But Oud for Glory is a very good alternative to Oud for Greatness. I would say my favorite alternative to Oud for Greatness, though, is from AFNAN. And that one's called Supremacy in Oud. I just think overall that Supremacy in Oud is a little bit of a better fragrance than Oud for Glory. It doesn't look the same as far as presentation goes. So if you want that whole Oud for fill in the blank bottle design, go for Oud for Glory. But just overall in terms of quality, I think Supremacy in Oud a little bit better. Both though, great alternatives. MANCERA up next. Red Tobacco is the scent. Thought about going with Cedrat Boisé here, but decided on Red Tobacco. Tobacco, vanilla, cinnamon, and oud, some of the notes in the fragrance. This one, the style of scent that this is, you can smell in a mess load of fragrances out there. Most of them though are niche. So you can find a bunch of niche scents out there that are red tobacco-ish. The issue with that is they are not cheap. And to be fair here, actually, MANCERA is typically pretty affordable from discounters. So this is one where maybe you weigh the pros and the cons of getting an alternative and you decide just to go for the real thing because it's not that much more expensive than the clone, at least on a cost per milliliter basis. So keep that in mind with this one. Alternatives, your best one is gonna be Paris Corner's Wild and Tobacco, which is not a great name exactly, but that one is the best bet for a red tobacco alternative on the cheap. You could also go with AFNAN's Tobacco Rush, which is close to red tobacco, but not as close as the Paris Corner gets it. So go with the Paris Corner here, or just get the real thing. Then we've got one from formerly Suspiro, but now Xerjoff. It's ERBA PURA. So Suspiro was its own thing for a while, and then they pretty much killed it off, and they moved over some of the fragrances to Xerjoff. So if you look this one up nowadays, it's going to be underneath Xerjoff. And to be truthful here, I have never really liked this fragrance. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't wear it. I never really enjoyed it. Fruit, musk, vanilla, and amber, and it's a really, high-pitched, fluffy sweetness, and that saccharin, sugary sweetness is like turned up to 11 on this one. Comes across very feminine to me, and just overall, not a fan. That said, a lot of people out there really like it, and it is a fragrance that has been cloned a number of times. So for this one, you're probably gonna wanna look at ALHAMBRA's Amber Oud Gold Edition. And you do wanna make sure if you're looking to pick up the ERBA PURA version, it is the Gold Edition, because there are multiple editions of Amber Oud and each one of them is a different clone of a different thing. But if you wanna go cheap, real cheap, go for Lattafa's Ana Abiyed, and it's the white bottle. So I think that one's just Ana Abiyed. It's not Ana Abiyed Rouge or Leather or one of the other ones, just the first Ana Abiyed. Going to Creed next, Silver Mountain Water. Yes, we could go Aventus. Frankly, we could go with a lot of different Creeds because they have been cloned to death. But I decided SMW this time. Green tea, citrus, currant, and petitgrain, some of the notes in the fragrance here. It has kind of a metallic feel to it. Some people say it gives them an inky type vibe. Like when they smell it, it reminds them of ink. And this is another fragrance that has been cloned a number of times. It has a really nice clean muskiness to it. It's a fragrance that has really good performance for me. I know some people say it doesn't, but for me, it projects like a monster, which has gotten me in trouble before. Yeah. Now, as I said, a lot of clones, alternatives of this one out there, and some of them are super cheap. So if you want to go like 10 bucks even, you can get a Silver Mountain Water clone. The best ones though are going to be ARMAF Club de Nuit Sillage or Rassasi's Albasam Day. And actually ARMAF has additional Silver Mountain Water clones. They have more than one. So it kind of shows you the popularity of this one, that some houses have multiple clones of the same thing underneath different lines in the same house. Interlude Man from AMOUAGE next, the Blue Beast. Big incense bomb of a fragrance. The opening a little bit off-putting to some people because it makes use of oregano. A note that is not used very often, and for some people, when they smell Interlude Man in the opening, they have an instant realization of why it's not used that often. Personally, I love it. I think this stuff rocks. I love Interlude Black Iris. I love all the interludes actually. So I'm here for it. But some people, they get hit with that whiff and just kind of shut down. Also got Oud Leather and Resins in here. As I said, great fragrance from AMOUAGE, one of their most popular ever. Best alternative for that is gonna be a fragrance called Midnight Oud. And interestingly enough, Midnight Oud is typically not at discounters. It's from Ard Al Zafran. I had to buy my bottle of Midnight Oud from eBay, and I think that's where most people get it. But it's a really nice alternative, not too terribly expensive. You can also go with AFNAN's Supremacy Incense, which is another high quality alternative to Interlude. Last fragrance, LAYTON, Parfums de Marly. Apple, vanilla, cardamom, lavender, some of the notes in the fragrance. One of the most popular men's niche fragrances ever made. Perfect for fall and winter, huge compliment puller. Everybody loves this stuff. Best alternatives, Detour Noir and Lalique's White in Black. Detour Noir does sell out from discounters, so keep that in mind, but as long as it's in stock, it's not too expensive. And Lalique White in Black is sometimes difficult to find also, but the quality on that one is insane. Lalique crushes it almost every time, and they did with that one. So if you don't want to pay LAYTON money, get one of those too. There we go, guys. 10 must-know niche fragrances for beginners and cheaper alternatives. Thank you guys for hanging with me here. I am gonna go and eat a big bowl of spaghetti. Eating like a king. Get a little spaghetti. Put your little Parmesan cheese on there. Eating good. I'm out of here. For real though, I'm hungry. Stay safe out there. I'll see you tomorrow.